Welcome back to Council Meeting 4541. We went into closed session to discuss the item 4.5 electric vehicle charging proposal at 3A Cal Street, Gladesville. In the closed session, we agreed to amend the motion as written in the paper. It was agreed to by the mover and the seconder, Councillor Williams and Councillor Prieston. That is now the motion that's being considered. Councillors, any further discussion?
Yes, I just had a question.
Councillor Vergara.
My question for you, Mr. Mayor, is what is the source of the electricity that will power the charger?
Director.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the licence agreement that we've entered into says that the source, the energy source has to be 100% renewable.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further questions? Right, reply, Councillor Williams. No.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
To be clear, it's not the licence agreement that we've entered into.
That's
No.
apologies, you're right. Negotiating.
That will be negotiated as renewable.
Yes. Thank you, councillors. I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried. Now move to item 4.7, draft community engagement strategy and community participation plan. Councillors, can I just flag? We're getting towards 9 o'clock. Yeah. Okay. Draft community engagement strategy and community participation plan on page 97 of the papers. I moved Councillor Vergara, seconded Councillor Prieston. Any discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. I now move to item 4.8, progress report on the delivery program and operational plan for the 6 month period from 1st of July to 31st of December 2024. Moved Councillor Williams, seconded Councillor Lane. Any discussion, councillors? If not,
I had a question.
Councillor Vergara, questions?
2 questions. On page 174, item 3.13. What is PSEP?
Oh, sorry, Councillor Vergara, sorry.
What's
Mr.
the
Mayor.
acronym PSEP?
PSEP is personal, I'll have to take that one on notice. It is a program that helps and aids people with disability who can't actually move outside their property. It's a program where a risk assessment is done on site in situ to enable them to understand what would happen in times of emergency disaster as per a resilience recovery program.
Thank you. One more. So page 179, item 4.1.1, which is the LEP DCP review. Is that really on schedule?
I believe so.
Director.
Fair enough.
Councillors, any further questions? Discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Item 4.9, draft section on page 191 of the. Sorry, councillors. 191.
I'd like to propose an amendment.
Sorry, councillor, let me just get there. Councillor Lane, you're moving the motion with an amendment?
Yes. Yes. I'd like to add a 3. The text has been provided previously.
Have we got on file? Yes. If you could read out your number 3
Sure.
for the benefit of the councillors.
It's that council urgently commission an infrastructure needs assessment on the proposed development under the low and medium housing SEP and Gladesville master plan and prepare a section 711 contribution plan on that basis for the Gladesville area. The study and drafting to be funded from general reserve.
Thank you, councillor Lane. Is there a seconder? Councillor Williams. If you weren't going to do it, I was. Councillor Lane, would you like to speak to the motion?
We're going to see significant uplift in Gladesville. We were already planning to look at a section 711, but I think that given Friday's announcement, this is now a matter of urgency. I understand the need for a fresh 712, but at the same time, we can look at the 711 and amend the 712 if need be. Oh, actually, it excludes the 711 already, so we don't even need to do that.
Yep. Yes, councillors, anyone speaking against the motion? For the motion?
Can I ask? a
Councillor Preston.
Thank you. Just through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Lane. You might address this in your
Right of reply.
reply.
Mhm.
Did you propose it? Yeah.
Happy to answer a question.
Yeah, just could you explain what the 7-Eleven contribution plan
yes.
might?
Yep.
Yeah, sure.
Councillor
So,
Lane.
so a 712
Just a brief-
a 712 caps the contribution at 1% for above $200,000.
Yeah.
Whereas a 7-Eleven, you actually look at what infrastructure the new population will require. And if that, well, whatever the amount is that the new population it requires, like a new swimming pool, you then are able to seek contributions from the development towards that. So if it exceeds the 1% you get from the 712, you get the higher amount towards that specific infrastructure. But you have to know what the infrastructure is in order to seek more than 1%.
Thank you, councillor Lane. I might also add, with the announcement and quite frankly, with the Gladesville Master Plan, that is upcoming, we would be mad not to seek a 7-Eleven contribution plan specific to that area, because it is the onus will be on council to provide the increase in infrastructure, and our levies are very low under this contribution plan as it is. So with all of that uplift, we're going to need to get our skates on. Sorry, councillor Vergara, you had a question.
I think I've asked my question. I wanted to know whether or not there were any, like how strict this was, because were there any plans that we could redirect for street lighting, because it's in year 5.
Yeah, that was my
Campaigning
question I
street
had
lighting,
too.
It was a major issue, so I was wondering how strict, like, are we stuck to that, or can that be brought forward in any of the years?
Mr. Mayor, you can bring it forward, it would just require the modification similar to the operational plan type thing. But you can bring it forward, but you probably have to swap for something else.
Okay, great.
This section 712 plan is designed for it to be amended on and off, and we can even appeal it at any time, which we will have to do. We will have to amend it to create a subcatchment for section 711.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. That's great.
Can I say to that, sorry,
Sorry, councillor Denise Lehman. Yes, you wanted to speak?
just to extend on the proposal that councillor Vergara has raised, I'd like to endorse a plan, but raise that we would bring forward the street lighting allocation from year 5 to year 2, and then we could potentially in lieu of the upgrade to the Seawall and Jetty at Ferry Street.
Mhm.
That's feasible.
Okay. Councillors, any further discussion on this? If not,
No.
oh, sorry, right of reply, councillor Lane.
Sorry, are we proposing to make any amendments in relation to this, or it's future?
I wasn't. I just wanted to know we had the flexibility.
Oh, okay, great.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Councillor Lane, right of reply?
No.
No. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Good motion. Thank you, councillor Lane. Item 4.10, quarterly budget review as at 31st December 2024. Councillor Vergara moved, seconded. Councillor Denise Lehman. Councillor Vergara, any questions?
I had a question. I won't speak to it, just a question. On page, maybe Richie Bennett here and say two.
Oh,
Mm.
gee, wow,
Yeah.
that's a blast.
For the audience.
That's TV.
Big cricket fan over here. Sorry, I'll digress. The net operating deficit result before capital items is expected to actually blow out. Like it's 200 grand more than what we budgeted. I just wanted to know what that was attributable to.
General Manager.
Thanks for the question, councillor Vergara. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I think first of all, I might be speaking to Netflix tomorrow about some streaming rights for singing, but that's a different story.
I didn't even know what the reference is.
No, Richie Bennett,
So councillors,
Richie.
let me start by saying that which is a matter of public record, at the most recent quarterly budget review in November, that was actually forecasted out to 300,000. So we've actually pulled that back a bit for a couple of reasons. One, we've got more than revenue than what we expected, and we've been very stringent with our cost controls. But the challenge going forward, and this will come to part towards the end of the financial year, which I've been incredibly transparent about in the past, is the Marina court case. So let me just step you through that again very, very quickly. I've given you this background before, but I think it's important to keep reminding you of it. So when we knew that we were in a position that we would have to go to court with the Marina, we had started planning a budget allocation in the 24-25 financial year budget of 130,000 K, which you signed off in the budget. But the clock started to run prior to July 1 of 24, and we actually paid in legal fees approximately 118,000 prior to June 30, specific to the Marina case. So we then budgeted the 130K for this year's financial budget. You would then recall that we came to you through a budget review process and asked for an additional 253,000, which meant that our year to date, our financial allocation for the Marina case was 383,000. And keep in mind that original 118 was never budgeted, was unbudgeted money. So far in this year, financial year to date, we've spent that 130,000, and we are now into that additional 253 that you gave us. Now, I do know through the planning department that there is another bill about to hit our desk, and I'm being told by the planning department that that's going to be approximately 100,000 K. So that would leave us then with that total allocation of 383, give or take about 140,000. Now, if we spend that prior to June 30 this financial year, the totality of the cost that we've spent is 500K on that case. And as you would recall, we've always said that we will transparently come back to you at that point and tell you what the status is. So at the moment, that deficit is inclusive of that allocation that you've already done, right? So we won't come back to you with a worse deficit, and we would never go and spend any more money than the budget we've been allocated. It's my understanding, which I'm sure the director can confirm, that you will get a confidential briefing from the lawyers and the barristers in April of a status of where we're at. Do I expect that we will spend the entirety of that financial year budget of just under 390,000? The answer is categorically yes. And the case has been set down for later in the year, which obviously we're into the next financial year. I hope that gives you a snapshot of that. So the reality is the majority of that increase in the deficit for the original budget is pertaining to the Marina. Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Councillors, any further questions? If not.
Oh, sorry, I did have one more question.
Okay.
On page 223,
223.
The increase in expenses of 19,500 is the walk on country and change to the scope. What's the split between those two things?
I'd have to take that on notice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillors, any further questions?
Yes, one more. Sorry, one more. Same page. The Riverside preschool remedial work. Why are we paying for that if Riverside's not a council-owned asset?
Director.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The Riverside Preschool is a council leased building, and there was significant storm damage to that building.
Do we own that building?
We do.
Yes, we
lease
do.
it.
Thank you. That's
Yeah,
the
we're the owner of that building.
Okay, thank you.
Councillors, any further questions? No? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Audit and Risk Committee, item 4.11 on page 237. Moved Councillor Vergara, seconded Councillor Williams. Any discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried. Item 4.12, Committees of Council. There is a resolution, and we also need to so there's a recommendation that the report be received and noted that, and number 2, that council determines the chairpersons of the following committees. So could I get a mover of the motion and seconder? Moved Councillor Prieston, seconded Councillor Vergara. We'll proceed to move the motion, and then we'll appoint the chairpersons of those committees in turn. So I'll sorry, Councillor Williams.
I move an amendment to that?
You can, yes, you can move an amendment.
That it's all number 3. That we increase the number of councillors on the Sustainability Committee. 3, which was what was in last council term, and then Councillor Lane be made the 3rd councillor.
Is that seconded? Oh, yeah, sure. Seconded, councillor Lane. Councillor Williams, do you wish to speak to it?
Oh, only that it's a committee that in the previous council term worked very effectively with 3 councillors, and I noticed that Councillor Lane is not represented on any of the committees at the moment, and I think it would be appropriate to restore the number of councillors in the Sustainability Committee to 3.
Any speakers against the motion? Any against the amendment? Sorry, councillor Vergara.
Just a question. All councillors can attend all committees, right?
Correct.
And there's no special voting power by having an extra councillor on there.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So, if that was the case, that council would be an observer, not voting rights, unless you've actually endorsed them on that committee. So let's role play this. There's a councillor on the Arts Committee that wasn't voted as the council representative. Any councillor who's not that representative can attend as an observer, can't vote. And just remember, there's no decisions.
Except for me, I'll get to vote on all of them.
Yeah, it's no actual decisions. It's an advisory role.
Yeah. Councillor Tanus Sleeman, question or comment? Question.
Can I just ask, on the rest of the committees, do we have a representation of 3 councillors?
No.
Not in this current.
Oh, not in this current term, okay. I personally don't have an issue. I've actually made a personal recommendation for Councillor Lane to be in it, but I don't know if 3 is an overkill. That's all I would probably state at this point.
Councillors, any further discussion? If not, I'll put the, Councillor Williams, right of reply.
It's certainly not an overkill. It worked effectively previously, and having councillors formally around the table does allow greater participation and greater input. So I would endorse the.
I'll put the amendment, yeah, to the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried. You got a job, Councillor Lane. Congratulations. That has become the motion. I'll now put the motion. If there's no more debate, no. All those in favour? Against? Sorry, I'll do that again. All those in favour? Against? That is unanimous. Can I call for nominations for the chairperson of the Arts Advisory Committee?
I nominate Councillor Williams.
Councillor Williams, do you accept?
Yes.
Yes, is that seconded? Councillor Prieston, all those in, there being no other nominees, congratulations, Councillor Williams. I call for nominations for the chairperson of the Bushland Management Advisory Committee, Councillor Vergara.
I nominate Councillor Kassab.
Oh, gee, she's not here. And is that seconded? Sure. Yes, Councillor Lane, all those in favour? Yes, that is carried. Now I call for nominations for the chairperson of the Cultural and Events Advisory Committee. I'll nominate Councillor Preston.
Thanks. No one else is going to do it.
I second.
Seconded. Any other nominations? If not, congratulations, Councillor Preston. I now call for nominations for chairperson of the Sustainability Advisory Committee. Councillor Preston.
I'll nominate Councillor Tanus Sleeman.
Councillor Tanus Sleeman, do you accept? Yes. Any other nominations? If not, congratulations, Councillor Tanus Sleeman. Okay, we are actually making some headway here with 18 minutes to go. Councillors, can I just ask whether or not there is any, apart from, from items 4.13 to 4.24, is there anything that councillors would like to address specifically? Yes, which ones?
4.15.
Yes.
And I've proposed minor amendments to 4.17 and 4.19.
4.18.
4.18, 4.19? Yep. Okay, councillors, can I get a motion, if that is the case, to move items 4.13, 4.14, 4.16, 4.20 through to 4.24? Moved, councillor Bergara, seconded councillor Prieston. Any discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. I'll now put the motion to for those motions to be put. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Now move to item 4.15, development applications determined under delegated authority in December 2024 and 2025. At January 2025, moved. Councillor Williams, seconded councillor Prieston. Any discussion?
I had 3 questions for you.
Councillor Lane?
So the first question relates to the replacement tree species. I note that there is a wide variety of variation of the species and sizes, with a couple of 7 metre, 2 to 6 metre exotics being proposed to replace substantial trees. I also note that there's quite a lot of guidance on tree canopy now, including a new tree canopy guide for low to medium residential as a result of this new policy that was published on Friday. Why don't we have a similar sort of regime of consistent size and species for, or at least size for replacement trees where we're approving a removal?
Director? Can we take that on notice? Yep.
Okay. The second question relates to 2024-0159, which is the Hunters Hill Hotel, which is a heritage item that's visible from a main road. Why didn't that go to CAP?
Because through you, Mayor, it was internal works, and I think at the time CAT wasn't established at the time, I think. Formally action. But having said that, if you look at the criteria of the CAT criteria, it didn't meet that. So we did look at it in detail as far as heritage and in internal bar configuration change.
Sorry, it's just to clarify, it's an external application. There's a change to the facade at the rear. There wasn't a heritage officer. There's no report of a heritage officer in the report. It only has one paragraph. I think it's a decent application, but I am concerned that a heritage item that's visible for the street went through no heritage evaluation whatsoever. And I suppose that leads me to my third question, which is, has anything gone to CAP since the start of this term?
I can answer that. No, because we haven't had a formed CAP until very recently.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not unusual when you've got the tailings of an election and then Christmas that you're not going to form all your committees.
I suppose, but I'd say turning around a heritage item in 2.5 months, while admirable from a speedy planning perspective, I have grave concerns for the future of heritage if we're not even referring it to a heritage officer or the conservation advisory panel to assess. And I think, like I said, I think the Hunters Hill Hotel is a lovely change to the rear, but I don't think the process wise that reflects what I would have expected.
Sorry, Director.
I'll take that on notice, but through you, Mayor, it's an assumption made that we didn't consider the heritage component or a heritage officer assessing it. So that's not correct.
I looked at the reference where all of the referrals are usually listed, and there was no referral to a heritage officer. There is a 1-paragraph deeming that it's appropriate by the author of the report, but There is no heritage officer referral. There is no CAP referral in the file that's on the internet. Thank you.
Councillors, any further questions? If not, I will put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried. We have now moved to item 4.17, council-related development applications, conflict of interest policy for public exhibition on page 316. Oh, sorry, on page 324. Moved.
May I move it with an amendment?
Yes.
The amendment, which again has been provided, is that just to add a new clause 2, prior to exhibition, council add definitions for relative and small for the purposes of 2.1 and 4.3.5 respectively. So I should have stood up. The reason for this is these are operative terms in the conflict policy. So it says a councillor or staff member or their relative, and that's a fairly broad term unless defined. And the second one, which says development where council might receive a small fee. And I think if that's an exclusion from the policy, we should have an idea of what small means, whether it's $10 or $10,000. So just before we go out on exhibition, if we could put a proposal around those two definitions. I recognise we can change the proposal once we've got feedback, but at least have something to respond to.
Can I just,
Director.
just with regard to the definition of relative, that's in our code of conduct, clause 4.4, so we rely on that. And small, definition of small is really leaving it to discretion of the general manager. So it's up to council.
Sorry, is that motion seconded? Seconded, Councillor Williams. That is the motion on the floor. Would you like to speak to it?
No further.
No further. Any speakers against?
I just had a question.
Question, Councillor Begara?
To the motion.
Yes.
So the sample policy just seeks to regulate, in terms of conflicts, council-related development, whereas the proposed policy goes beyond that. So it's DA submitted by councillors and relatives. Why aren't we just sticking to the sample policy? Because we've got the code of conduct which relates to conflicts.
Question, sorry, Director.
We're basing the policy on the previous adopted policy in 2023, and we're also following the referral criteria from the ministerial directions from the local planning panel, and we're just trying to ensure that we are committed to transparency with regards to development. So we're just following those different type of policies.
Because it just refers back to,
Councillor Preston,
sorry,
question?
and it just, yeah, because the document refers back to the code of conduct. Anyway.
Councillors, any further discussion? Councillor Williams, did you wish to speak? No, sorry, you look like you were keen to speak before. If not, right reply, Councillor Lane.
I just maintain that I don't think that at the discretion of the GM is an adequate definition of small, and we should at the very least define that for the sake of public consultation.
Is there an amendment screen?
No, that's a motion. The motion is on the screen, moved by Councillor Lane, seconded by Councillor Williams.
With an amendment.
With an amendment.
With it, not the one in the report, but it is the motion. With the 0.3, which actually is 0.4.
And
No,
the
0.2 is the new.
relative and small.
Yes, yes, we're comfortable. Put the motion, all those in favour. Against, that is carried unanimously. Item 4.18, signage and banners policy for public exhibition. Councillors, anyone move this? Moved. Councillor Preston, seconded. Councillor Tanu Sleeman. Any discussion? Councillor Lane.
I'd just like to foreshadow an amendment. I thought I wouldn't jump in this time. I worry this policy seems to lack any location criteria. In fact, I think it also has a formal flaw in the way that it states council approval being required when exempt development does not require council approval. So I've just it's quite long, but I've foreshadowed an amendment to deal with some of those issues.
Councillors, I'm conscious, and I will gauge the room to see if you're comfortable with this. I actually think that this is something that the council needs to consider a bit more thoroughly. It hasn't been done in a while, so I'm actually going to gently suggest that we might defer this to a briefing where we can actually have a discussion about it, because there are some significant issues in there that are DA related as well. And I know it's an ongoing issue, and I know that we've been stinging a couple of businesses with A-frames, but I think getting that criteria and balance right so that we can actually allow businesses to advertise, but in a way that's consistent with our streetscape, is probably a broader conversation than this going out to public. So, apologies to the director and general manager. Do you have any?
Yeah, just through you, Mr. Mayor. There's been just informal feedback from a few councillors since the business papers have come out. And I actually suggested to the Director of Planning today that councillors potentially could consider on the floor to defer, so it becomes a briefing matter. For the sake of another month or 2 months, the world will not end.
So Councillor Prieston and Sleeman, are you comfortable amending your recommendation just to defer this to a further briefing and come back to council? Yes, yes. I'll put that motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried. 4.19, Hunters Hill Lane Cove, Parramatta and Ryde Bushfire Risk Management Plan. Is there a mover? Councillor Williams, seconded. Councillor Tano Sleeman. We need to work on an acronym for that one, Councillor Williams. Any speakers for this motion? No? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Councillors, that is the end of the public business of this meeting. Yes, there's been no correspondence. General business.
I think we missed 21 to 23, 20 to 24.
No, they were dealt with in block.
Oh, were they? Oh, sorry,
Yes.
I didn't write them down.
Sorry, general business. The general manager has an item.
No, just quickly, Mr. Mayor, and I appreciate it wasn't referenced in the paper, but to those who didn't see it, the former Henley Bowl site, which is now obviously predominantly occupied by the Happy Hens, got an amazing coverage on Better Homes and Gardens recently, and it's publicity that you can't buy, and it's national coverage, and it really put that area in a really positive light in regards to what's going on there.
Thank you, General Manager. Councillor Williams.
Yes, I concur with that, and I think council could promote and publish in its media outlets links to that and the importance of it. I went to the evening which they held to view it, and there was probably 80 people turned up in support of the Henley Hens, and it really just showed the community engagement and uplift in that area. And I understand that they're keen to get containers and things to meet their overall objectives. So I do agree that was an outstanding outcome and promotion of the area.
Before we do go into closed session, and there are 2 items to consider in closed session, I would also like to point out, if councillors probably already know, this is the last meeting for Mitchell Murphy as General Manager. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank him for his outstanding service for the last 3 years at Hunters Hill Council, all the work that he's put in to build the team internally and support councillors in the work that they do. Some very significant pieces of public infrastructure have been delivered by him and his team whilst he was here, and certainly I'm speaking on behalf of council, but the broader community, that you will be missed. So thank you, Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's been a privilege to lead the staff and work as a team, and to the councillors of the day who appointed me, I thank you for the opportunity to serve both the councillors and the community, and both the staff, the councillors and the community as a collective. I wish you all the very best for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, General Manager. And the former Deputy Mayor also asked me to include her congratulations to you. Councillors, we do have 2 items of business that have to be dealt with in closed session. So I will ask for a motion to go into closed session. Moved Councillor Williams, seconded Councillor Tano Sleeman. All those in favour? Against, that is carried unanimously.
I'll leave you on this note, Mr.